or whatever you want, Richard, it will be the best way. What is it?
Rictor.
Like
Victor, but with an R.
Oh, Richard.
Rictor.
Richter.
Richter, like the Richter scale.
Oh, yeah, Rictor.
There you go. Woo! Alrighty.
Well, I'll learn to speak English someday. My wife says he don't learn to speak English. He hasn't in a long time. But, you know, anyway, go ahead.
Alrighty.
And
I could talk horses with you all day long. That would be my idea of a
he
good
wouldn't
time.
want that.
No, he'd be bored, wouldn't he?
I only have 3 questions for you, actually.
Yes, okay.
So, okay, here we go. We're going to look at the camera.
Yes.
Okay. All right, welcome to After Hours with Rictor. I am your host. My name is Rictor Riolo. Joining me is the beautiful, sassy, classy Tammy Murray.
Hello, everybody.
And we have a special surprise. We have our hero, our Bigfoot hero, Bob Gimlin's with us. Now, Tammy is going to take it away.
Well, really, he's right. Tammy is beautiful and she's a special lady, and I'm not a special guy. I'm just Bob Gimlin.
Welcome to After Hours. My name is Rictor. I am your host.
Rictor!
What?
Leave him alone! It's Judgment Day for Sasquatch.
Thanks for dropping me like a stud.
Now we got Rictor going. We're gonna have to hear about it all night.
That's a bunch of screaming memes out there, and that's the scoop that has been reported so far.
By your opinion that you are no-kill, you are dooming the species to be extinct.
Well, when you don't believe in Bigfoot, everything you see that might be one is something else.
We thought that we had the holy grail of DNA.
When are we gonna make a video, Rictor? And I mean not an X-rated one.
Dr. Todd, you've also been called the scoff dick.
Yeah, well.
You can't talk about
I can't!
Hello? Is this thing on? Am I muted? Can you hear me?
Hey, Rictor, I've got a question for you. How does it feel to lose Bigfoot Bounty?
You folks are watching After Hours with Rictor.
I have found a true Jedi Master. Bob Gimlin is a Jedi Master. Wow, check that out.
Bobby Bob. You guys, we've had fun this afternoon.
Yeah, you need to watch Star Wars.
I will, someday when I slow down.
Ticket is.
Better not be my ticket. I don't normally do interviews, but I'll do that. I'll do a few, you know, a little bit for you guys because see,
it's so special for us.
I quit doing interviews quite a few years ago because of the problems I had with them, and I always had seemed like I never got one. I want to meet that little girl, and I'll be right there.
Let's bring her over right now.
Come on over.
Well, come on,
Jess. Welcome to After Hours. Who's the little girl?
Gracie, say hi. I'm Gracie.
Hi, Gracie.
Gracie, this is Bob, and Bob rides too.
Yes, I tried to ride. I used to ride, Gracie, and I will ride again.
You know Miss Sandy. He knows Sandy's family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gracie, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Say we'll ride later.
Yeah, I quit doing interviews because they were so wrong. And then I don't know if you know some of the California guys. A California guy came up, wanted to talk to me. I just sat and talked, and he set a camera up over in the corner and did the interview, and then it was accurate. So there was a lot of litigation about it. And so if it hadn't been for Tom Yamaron bow, and a lot of them, I don't know if you know Kathy and Bob Strain.
Yes, love Kathy.
She's one of our co-hosts. She's our archaeologist.
Oh.
Yes.
She's been on 3 of our shows.
Great people. Great
yeah. Okay, when I did Bigfoot Bounty, Kathy Strain was my Obi-Wan Kenobi. She was my mentor. Because I've never gone Bigfooting before. It was my first time.
Oh.
And so Kathy told me the do's and don'ts, what to buy, what to wear.
You started with a perfect lady.
Oh, she's phenomenal.
And those kids are good people.
Well, my first question is, how did you get to be so handsome?
With people that glasses isn't as good as they should be.
Oh.
With beautiful women that make my head big and make me walk tall. That's how it happened.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm so honored and thrilled to meet you. When I was young, I saw the Patterson Gimlin film.
Yes.
And I was still quite young.
Yes, you had to be if you saw the first bunch of it. Yeah.
And I had people in my family that would tell stories of Momo because I lived in Missouri.
Oh.
So I grew up with Momo, and that was my first scary monster story.
Uh-huh.
So you know about Momo, the Missouri monster, of course?
Yes.
And so I saw the film, and I was like, wow, the monsters are real. And so that was a pretty exciting moment for me. So just tell us a little bit about your feelings whenever you saw Patti.
Well, I'll tell you, Tammy, my feelings, see, I was kind of a skeptical person, but Roger had presented quite a bit of evidence to me prior to my being down there. And I had never seen a actual track made good enough to get a cast from it. So when he come to me and said, Bob, they've had some number of tracks. They didn't even say the amount. They said 3 different sizes of tracks. And the assumption was it was a male, female, and a youth. And so he said, and by then he had talked to me many times, brought little cassette tapes to play for testimonials that people had given him, see, over the years. And so then I'd start, well, there's got to be something. These people cannot all be imagining things. And I really didn't have a lot of time because I was very busy in my life, working a regular job plus riding a lot of horses, starting horses for people and doing extra jobs, just basically trying to make extra money and survive and buy the things that I wanted. Better pickups, better horse trailers, better horses, and, better tack and everything.
I'm right there with you on
that.
Yes,
you are, Tammy. You know the story. So so when Roger came to me, basically I had been with Roger a couple times over around the Mount St. Helens area before. And this was in the early 60s, or mid-60s it would be, before 67, of course, and we were over there Labor Day weekend of 1967. Same year the film famously. So it started raining, really raining hard, and by Sunday night, I had 4 days off, of course. I was hot roofing at that time. And I got off early Friday afternoon. I had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I only had to be back to work on Tuesday. So we went over to ride in the area and just do some looking around because Roger had actually acquired some plaster casts from footprints over in that St. Helens area. And so I was really getting to the point where I needed some evidence. I was a Harry Truman. I wanted to see it to believe it. And so I went over there, and it rained so hard, so everything was wet. So I came on back home, went to work on Tuesday morning, and was working. And one evening, about a week later, Roger come flying in my driveway. He lived about 35, 40 miles from me. Bob, can you take me to Northern California? And I said, well, why? He said, they were starting to build new roads back up in the Bluff Creek area, way up, well, it was up high on the ridges, of course. And he said they put a tank in there on a Friday evening. And I understood it at the time it was a fuel tank to fuel the graders and the cats up there, diesel. We said they come back to work on Tuesday, and there's all these footprints of 3 different sizes. And I said, well, Roger, I can't just quit my job, get somebody to take care of my cattle, my horses, and take care of the farm, you know. But I said, I probably can. I'll go talk to my boss. So I go and ask my boss. I said, you know, could I take a couple weeks off? And he said, sure, Bob. He said, it's fall of the year, hot roofing slowing down, and you're the last man to be hired, so you'd be the first man laid off when it come fall when there's no work. So I said, well, yeah. So call Roger, or Roger come back down and call him. And I said, yeah, I can get things together, and I can take you down there. Probably be the last of the month or the 1st of October. So he said, okay, and I don't really remember, Tammy, whether it was last day, or the first day of October that we left the Yakima area. He went and got the horses lined up and got all of his gear, and the agreement was that his brother-in-law would pay part of the expenses down there, because his brother-in-law had a little money and had a big company in Yakima, a guy named Owl Diatley, which was Roger's brother-in-law at that time. And so we loaded up, and I had a 1-ton Chevrolet truck, relatively new truck at that time. It was not a 4-wheel drive. It was a dually 1-ton with a nice little horse van that I had built up on the back with an overshot out over the cab. And so I took him down there, and I'd never been there before, so I didn't really know where to go. And Roger had been down there before and talked to different peoples like Jerry Crew and a guy named Sylvester McCoy that worked for the Forest Service. And so he knew where to go. So we drove about 30-some miles back from the town of Willow Creek and to the mountains there, and camped, went down over a place called Onion Mountain, camped on the other side of the creek, and then that's when we just rode for days and days and days. And then that particular October 20th day, well, so I didn't celebrate, but I had my 36th birthday 2 days before, on the 18th of October. And then that particular day, we was going to ride out and cover a lot of ground way on back. It was going to ride back about 25 miles and camp. It was on a Saturday. And we was going to camp out back there and cover a few more miles further back, because we'd ridden a lot of miles around in circles and back. Anyway, so we were about 3.5 miles away from our base camp, riding up the creek bed, and it was a beautiful October 20th day. The leaves were all turning orange and red, and Roger was filming them, and we were chatting and talking what we were going to get back there and set up a camp and ride a lot of miles. And just everything was going perfect for a sunshiny October day.
Ideal trail ride.
It was an ideal trail ride.
Sounds wonderful.
And when we come around a big downfall, when I say downfall, that was a root system of a tree that had washed up over, and the roots were up and the butt of the tree was down when they had that big flood down there in 63 and 64, say. And so when we come around that big downfall tree, the creek had come around that. On the far side was the creature standing alongside the creek. And then that's when you see Roger trying to get him. Roger was in front of me a little ways, and I was coming along with a pack horse with the stuff on the back, and just riding along, you know, kind of like nothing, you know, didn't expect anything, because we had ridden that way a number of times, you know, probably at least 15, 20 times the same way. And so, or not exactly the same way, but just in that area, we'd ridden in that area. And so she just turned and started walking away, and that's where you see this famous film footage.
Just like that,
That's
huh?
like that.
Just like that.
Just like this. And, you know, and of course, the first 35 years of that film, that people that we got back in the Yakima, there was the non-believers and the hoaxers that says, yeah, I didn't know about the hoaxers then, but I knew the people that didn't believe in the thing, and so you know, I went through quite a little bit of that, but I thought, oh yeah, you know, they don't know what they're talking about. I know what I saw.
When suddenly a large, hairy creature appeared in front of them. By chance, they had a loaded film camera with them.
We came around a bend in the creek, and there stood a big, hairy, human-like creature. It appeared to be between 6 and 7 feet tall. The creature looked at us for a few seconds, turned and walked slowly away. And it was kind of in a loamy type soil, left good footprints. It walked directly away from us at just a slow stroll, just like a man would be walking away from something downtown. It never did break into a run. Well, the animal appeared to be a female due to the fact that it appeared to have mammary glands. And the thing walked very agile, very fluently, and it had huge, bulky muscles. An overall description, it looked like a huge, hairy human being.
Well, English and Russian scientists have analyzed this film very carefully, and they've concluded that the stride is quite unhuman and be very difficult for a man to imitate.
And so then in 2003, Dimitri Beno from Australia, an Australian scientist, one of the top scientists of Australia, had invited me to Russia 2 or 3 or 4 years before, and I couldn't go. I just financially couldn't go, and a lot of things I couldn't go. So I didn't. So he said, well, Bob, if you won't come to Russia, I'll come to the United States to meet you and visit with you. So a guy by the name of John Green and Chris Murphy from BC, Canada, went and picked up Dimitri at the SeaTac airport when he flew in to Seattle, and come by and picked me up, and we went to Willow Creek for the conference that Mr. Al Hodson was putting on that year. And I met some incredible people there. I don't know the exact number. It was probably well over 200. And I met a lot of incredible people with lots of PhDs behind their names, and that's when I first met Dr. Meldrum, and Dr. Bendenenko, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
You've made some wonderful friends since this experience then in the world of Bigfoot, huh?
I have. Really, Tammy, I say right now, I'm probably the richest man in the world. And I'd share that with anybody and everybody that wanted to make friends like I've made friends. You don't buy friends, you make friends. And I have made so many friends, not just hundreds, I've made thousands. And I've had offers to go visit people everywhere in the lower 48 and Alaska. So therefore, that's why I say I'm the richest man in the country. I don't mean money-wise, I have none at all. I'm not. I can eat 3 squares a day, and I got a place to sleep, and it's paid for.
Yeah.
So I got everything I want and everything I need, and I got folks like you folks.
Oh, thank you.
And that's what's important to me. You don't buy friendship, you earn them, and you love them, and you have them.
Can I say something to our audience right now?
You can say.
If you could sit here, I mean, I'm tearing up, okay? If you could sit here with this man and feel his kindness and his honesty, I think you would all believe in Bigfoot.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're making me cry.
Tammy, thank you. You can cry as much as you want.
Can I cry on your shoulder?
Yes, you can cry. You
People,
can cry on my shoulder, and I'd be honored that you take my clean red handkerchief and wipe your pretty eyes out, and that would make me happy.
Oh my God, people!
I'll tell you what. I love you people. I love you, and it's from the bottom of my heart. It's not just from here. It's from here. And I'll tell you what, being here right here with this group, it means more to me than anybody had ever expressed. I can't express it. To be here with just meeting you guys and coming and talking to you and seeing your pretty necklace and all of those things. And, you know, everything about everything here has been special.
And thank you for the hanky. I feel like I should wash it and mail it back to you.
No way. It's going to go in my hip pocket.
So, Mr. Gimlin, I have a question for myself, and I have a question from one of our viewers.
Yes.
Alrighty. My question to you is, what is your favorite memory of Roger Patterson?
Well, you know, there's been quite a few, and probably when I first met Roger back in the late 50s, we were both amateur rodeo guys, and Roger he could ride good. He had a lot of good ideas about staying healthy, and Roger was a small guy, but he was wiry. He was a gymnast, and he just did incredible things, and he had great values about life, and he was a good guy to be around, and he had a family, and I love children. I had children, and he had children. They were all the same age. Had a nice, beautiful wife, and a little girl and 2 little boys, and I love the kids, still do, and you know, that's my favorite memories of Roger. And then, well, there was lots of them, because we'd go out, and Roger and I didn't go out with Roger much because I didn't have time. But one time, you guys can't remember an artist by the name of Buddy Knox that was singing back in the early days, and Buddy Knox was a real good friend of Elvis Presley and Ricky Nelson, and so that was back in those days, of course. And Buddy Knox knew a guy named Jerry Merritt in Yakima that had traveled with Gene Vincent and the old-time artists. So he got a hold of Roger, this Buddy Knox fellow did, and wanted to come up and visit and meet Roger and me. And so he did come up, and we went out and camped up in the mountains and in the snow, and camped out, and cooked out and everything. And this guy, of course, is a city guy, and he said, man, this is really living. I don't know if Buddy's still alive. If he is, I hope he sees this. Anyway, I think he moved to Canada. But anyway, Buddy Knox said, I've got to go call Elvis and Ricky and get them up here to go out with you two guys. He said, this is the way things should be. Out here, the breeze blowing through the pine trees and the smell. And of course, it was an everyday thing for us or me. I rode in the mountains all the time. And so he goes down and he calls. I don't know which one he called first, but Ricky was busy and Elvis was on tour, and they said it'd be 2 or 3 months before we could get up there. Well, then that had to be gone, but it was just the idea that he was trying to get Elvis Presley and Ricky Nelson to come up and go out with Roger and I.
So this is kind of like the original Squatching with the Stars. Kind of.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. You know, if they'd ever made it there,
Yeah.
they never did make it, and they didn't know who Bob Gimlin, because they call me Roger's Indian friend. You know, because I'm part Native American.
Oh, right on.
And so consequently, Buddy Knox wrote a song, and it's about Roger and me. And I tried to play it the other day. I hadn't even thought about it for years, and then it didn't work in my pickup. So I was talking to Tom Yamaron, if you know Tom, of course.
Oh, yes.
And Tom says, yeah. And so last night at the campfire, he sang part of that, what he could remember about Buddy Knox writing, you know. Yeah. And it was kind of neat, you know, about Roger and I going out and camping and looking for Bigfoot.
Way up in the north woods and deep in the dark pine that blacken the mountains of the Cascade Range, they still tell the tales of an Indian legend. Sasquatch is the legend, Bigfoot is the name. The Indians claim he's the missing link that fits in the gap of the evolution chain. You can make your mind up when you've heard the story. Sasquatch is the story, Bigfoot is the name. You can ride from Canada to Northern California, all up and down the Cascade Range. But if you go alone, friend, I'm here to warn you. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. From out of the Yakima Indian Reservation, a young cowboy and an Indian came to hunt in the mountains of Northern California. Proof was the purpose, Bigfoot was the game. Now young Roger Patterson ran a small string of horses, and he lived in the foothills in a cabin with his wife. He knew that many secrets were hidden in these mountains, and he had heard the legend of Bigfoot for most all his life. You can ride from Canada to Northern California, all up and down the Cascade Range. But if you go alone, friend, I'm here to warn you. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. 9 years ago, while running wild horses deep in the mountains with an old Indian friend, he ran across a huge, very huge footprint, and this is where the hunt for the Bigfoot man began. To town and back they went, and they made a plaster cast, 18 inches long from heel to the toe, and from the print that it made, they guessed that it must have weighed 700 pounds or so. You can ride from Canada to Northern California, all up and down the Cascade Range. But if you go alone, friend, I'm here to warn you. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. Now the facts they put together sent chills right up their spines, and the search for a lot more information began. And when they told the story and showed these plaster prints, they only grew laughs from strangers as well as friends. Now up through the years, they found a lot more footprints, and they gathered sworn statements from a lot of decent-minded folks. But when they took these facts up to the educated experts, it was all disregarded and branded as a hoax. You can ride from Canada to Northern California, all up and down the Cascade Range. But if you go alone, friend, I'm here to warn you. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. Now it become a challenge to Roger and the Indian to gather more proof and to bring it all forth and show the whole wide world that this Bigfoot man is alive today and living in the mountains to the north. And for years they gathered a lot of signed statements and tapes from people who had seen Bigfoot or his tracks, but still no sightings and no filmed photographs, and they knew they must bring a lot better proof back. You can ride from Canada to Northern California, all up and down the Cascade Range. But if you go alone, friend, I'm here to warn you. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name. Look out for the thing with a Bigfoot name.
So here's the question from our, one of our viewers. Her name is Bobby Keene. And if I don't ask you this, I'm going to be killed. Okay,
Bobby King?
Bobby Keene.
Keene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a big fan of our show. So, alrighty, this question is from Bobby. Please ask Mr. Gimlin Who was riding what horse when the PG film was done?
Bobby, Roger was riding a little bay horse, a fiery little bay horse that he called Peanuts, part quarter horse and part, I would think, Morgan. He wasn't very big, but he was a powerful little horse. And I was riding a big, tall 16-hand horse that Roger had borrowed from another guy. And the horse that I was leading was a little horse that Roger called H.O. I have no idea why his name is H.O. But, well, because he was white, I guess. And he had the pack equipment on it that day.
And what about yours?
Well, that was the big horse was the one I was riding.
What was the name of the big horse? Was it Fina? What was it called?
The horse you were riding?
The big horse. I can't remember his name. You know, to me back then, unless I was real familiar with the horses, I just call them horse.
When you ride that many different horses, it's hard to keep up with all of them, right?
Well, and I don't even call my own horses their names. I call them, when they come to my place, they're named after a city. And one of the horses I ride now is Reno, Nevada, Houston, Texas.
That's cool. You know, Tammy's a huge horse lover. She's got horses.
Yeah. See, that's what makes her so awful beautiful and special.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What is your hope for the future of Bigfooting? Technology is now here with trail cams, infrared FLIR, DNA testing. What do you see happening in the future of Bigfoot?
Do you really want me to say that?
Absolutely, because I have an opinion on this as well.
Okay, thank you for that, because what I would like to see is people to realize these creatures are humanoid type creatures, in my personal opinion. They believe they understand us so much better than we understand them. And I keep saying, if we'll get away from fear and violence, and fear causes violence sometimes, we will get a lot further with these creatures. And if we quit trying to prove they exist and leave them alone, and just, I don't mean leave them alone, go out and try to communicate, try to prove to them that we're not out here to do harm. We're out here to enjoy nature. And if they want to come and visit us, we welcome them.
And we would be very lucky.
If we're lucky.
Yeah.
But it bothers me for people to say, I'm so scared of them. My hope and wish in my lifetime, if I could walk right up to one who would be real submissive, look it right in the eye, say, I'm sorry about what all's happened to you.
Yeah. See, I personally have a theory. When people don't believe me when I say that I believe Bigfoot's real, and they kind of, oh, come on, you don't really believe in Bigfoot. Here's what I tell them. 30,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, us humans, and Neanderthals lived side by side in Western Europe.
Yes.
I'm sure there were some dimwit humans say, oh, come on, you don't really think Neanderthals exist. No, I'm pretty sure, Aunt Clara said she saw one up in France. Oh, come on. You know what I mean? So who's to say, based on just the numbers, that there could have been a third living deep in the forest? And since it's intelligent, saw what humans did to Neanderthals and just retreated further back into the forest, knowing that we are the bad guys. Because humans, even back then, 30,000 years ago, I'm sure we weren't friendly.
No. Well, I'll go back to what some of the Russian people talk about. They say, what's wrong with the people in the United States? They keep trying to prove these exist. They keep going out there. About Christ's time, they go back, naturally go back to Christ's time. They claim that the Bigfoot lived in colonies out with no fire, no housing, and even then, the Russian people tried to run them away and keep them away from the villages, and because the young males took a fancy to the young Russian women, and so well, those
Russian women are built pretty big.
Yeah, and pretty sturdy. So I guess they wanted enhance the herd or whatever. No, sorry I said that.
Would you like me to edit that out? I can beep it out.
Please do, Rictor.
Okay.
Because
beep.
yeah, because I have to be careful what I say.
Oh, yeah.
He is a masterful editor.
If there's something you say, like I hate Dr. something, I will delete that.
If I scratch my nose, I make him edit it out.
Oh, I'm very respectful with our guests.
Even have to be careful how I talk to the doctors.
I know.
Because when that horse shot me out before another accident, the collarbone went straight out, right on through, and I said, went right through the hide. The doctor said, Bob, that is called hide. That's called skin. For you, that's called skin. We got a better name for it. And I said, hide to me, you know. Wow. But anyway, that's, you know, I mean, I'm a little crude and a little rude about things when it comes to cowboy talk. I talk cowboy.
Right on. You are one of the original cowboys, by the way.
Well, thank you.
You're a cowboy hero.
Yeah.
I love cowboys.
Well, then, Tammy, you really go for me then.
I do.
Anyway,
Trust me.
You know, people ask me, are you a cowboy? I said, well, I reckon I am, because I ride horses and I move cows and I've did a lot of things, and so I guess maybe you could call me a cowboy.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You've got the belt buckle, look at that.
But when you turn that off, I got to tell you a cowboy joke.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to be here next year? Because I'm going to be.
Tammy, the only thing that's going to stop me is God says I'm quitting sending the angels take care of that guy, and he's on his own. That's the only thing that's going to stop me.
Well, now that I've been here one time, I think I want to come back every year.
I hope so.
Especially if you're here.
I hope to see your pretty little face here next year, you know. I certainly do.
You are embarrassing me.
No, hon. Don't ever let me embarrass you. I just tell the truth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, you're most welcome. You earned it all, you know.
Mr. Gimlin, do you have any advice for the next generation of Bigfooters that are up and coming? There's quite a few young people here, and they're learning from the greats, including you. So what's your advice?
Well, thank you. I really like what you're saying. I want the young folks to learn to do these things, and if they're going to do field research, I'd like for them to do it in the right way and do it with some gusto, not just go out there and say, yeah, I'm out there looking for Bigfoot, but to do it with some science behind it, and the idea that they're going to do this without profit or without being famous or anything. Just do it because it's in your heart to do it, and you believe that you know they exist, so you want to just share that with people, so that people will be more aware of what these things have. They have feelings, they're soulful, and so if we can treat them like that, and the young folks understand that, there won't be anybody shooting at them.
Right. So you are no kill.
Exactly. Oh boy.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Gimlin, you've had a second experience, correct?
Yes.
Not many people know about it.
No.
I really don't know much about it. Would you care to tell me?
You mean the time I talked to you earlier about it? About when we were sitting at the campfire, and the one just across, well, it was only about 70 feet across over there.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know it was one. We hear something walking, and we just sitting there visiting. Ted Ham and his German Shepherd were sitting here. The campfire's there, and I'm toasting my feet in the campfire, and it's dark, about 9:30 at night. And Kevin Jones, Colonel Jones, is sitting here, and we're back about 12, 14 feet from the road, or maybe a little farther. The road's, what, 50, 60 feet across, and in the timber, just in the timber across, we could hear this walk. Well, there's humans all around up around that lake, so we just sat there and visited, and all at once, that volume so powerful, you couldn't even hardly, you can't even imagine the volume. And so Ted jumped up, and his dog, and they ran for the ridge, and he said, I was getting the hell out of there, Bob. Kevin ran for his tent to get a recorder. And what does Bob do? I jump up and run out in the road and go, ah! The best little measly call I could call. And this creature, in that short time of all the things that we did, was probably 200 feet or more on down through the trees. I couldn't tell because it let out another yell, another powerful yell. And then, so I was supposed to leave and go down and go to work the next morning at 4:30 in the morning with the Backcountry Horse Group for a yard sale. So I thought, hey, I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay here all night. So I just went in the tent, threw my sleeping bag down, and I stayed awake the biggest part of that night, really hoping that maybe it would come back through.
Well, it was probably Patti coming back for you, wanting her royalties.
She might have been.
Because she's quite the movie star.
Well, she could have traveled that far in 34 or 45 years really easy.
So what year and what month do you remember this was in?
The year that this happened?
Yeah.
Well, it would have to be, let's see, it's been 4 years ago, so it would be in
2010.
2000.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, about 2010. Yeah, it would be about 2010.
So you've had the best visual sighting of all time recorded, and this scream that you heard.
Right.
When I was on Bounty, Bigfoot Bounty, the first Bigfoot hunt I'm ever on, in the middle of the dark forest in Washington by Mount Adams, we hear coming from an Indian reservation these screams getting closer, and they're very long, like a bigger chest capacity than a human.
Oh, by far.
And it was it was energizing. That has to be something, that's something that the BFRO has on their website called the Polyp Screams from 1972. Yeah. Same thing, but what I heard was much longer, and it was coming closer. And the camera crews were like, okay, it's midnight, we're done, we're union, we're done. And I told the producer, no, whatever that is, it's coming this way. Give us the camera, we'll stay.
Yeah, see.
No, that would have given us an edge over the other competition, the other teams.
Yes.
And we had to leave. And I felt like, oh my gosh, the one time I'm out in the forest, Bigfooting for the first time, hearing these screams coming from an Indian reservation that we can't go to. It's coming toward us, and we have to leave.
And that's an incredible area over there. Incredible.
You know how frustrating it was for me? I was just like, gosh.
See, because there's been sightings. The Native Americans talk about the sightings around Mount Adams a lot. In fact, a lot. There's stuff that probably I could go on for a week talking to you about that. You know, that I kind of don't witness personal, but know it happened. Now, by people talking to me about it, and a lot of Native Americans. Yeah, come on, try it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's just.
Now I want to see one.
I do
not
too.
up close.
I want to see one so close that I can say, high up there.
I'm kind of oblivious. I'd probably walk right into it and say, oh, excuse me. Not even realize it was a Bigfoot.
Well, you might smell it.
Tell them about my nose. I can't smell wet dog. I can't smell skunk. I can't smell any leaking odors.
You're one of the luckiest guys in the world, you know?
Right, so you guys might be all freaking out. You smell something. I'm like, what? Did Patti smell?
Yes.
What'd she smell like?
Well, Roger and I didn't agree on that.
Okay, what did he say?
I said, Roger, well, I won't even tell you what Roger said. But, and we both talked about it that night. I said, well, it smelled kind of skunky, musky, but not quite that sharp, just almost sickening thing that skunks do to you.
Oh, wow.
It had kind of an old, skunky, musky smell. Excuse me.
So you've never smelled anything like that since?
No, I never did, or before. And the one that yelled at us, I did. Of course, there was a breeze blowing in its favor. That about like this, but
it probably smelled you guys.
Well, I'm sure it smelled. Well, it probably laughed at us as it walked by and said, "I'll scare them guys really good." And then when he said, "Oh, I wonder what that one tried to yell at me for," man, something wrong with that guy, But anyway,
Well, thank you so much for joining us and telling us your
Well,
memories
hey, it's
and
just a pleasure.
sharing your opinions,
Yeah.
and we're all on the same page here.
I-
Okay, wait a minute, Tammy. Tammy, you were on the fence about Patterson Gimlin's footage. Tammy, after meeting Bob Gimlin, do you think that the footage is real?
Bob is an honest man. He is telling the truth.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, hon.
And I love him.
Hey, that goes both ways. Hey, thanks, you kids.